Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Previously on First Paso.
As I said at the start, I was faking it until I made it and it wasn't sustainable. And the reason I was faking it is because I didn't feel qualified. I didn't feel like I had the tools. I knew that's what I was supposed to be doing, but I was kind of putting the cart before the horse, and I'd forgotten. And again, I don't know what people's faith is. There's a quote, maybe Christine Caine said it, but I'm sure everyone said it, and maybe even be in the Bible. I don't know. But God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
You're listening to First Paso. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first paso. Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candice Olushola, and today we are continuing the conversation right where we left off with Shauna Ryan describing an old mindset.
I like to organize everything. I like lists, I like plans, I like discipline. Hence why I was a teacher.
Yes.
I would have my end goal in mind, which is I'm going to be a light. I'm going to be joy. And this is how I'm going to get there. I had to release the control on how I was going to get there. Be obsessed with the destination, but not how you get there.
Ooh, girl. It's crazy to hear you saying all of this because I feel like I've been going through, like I said, a very similar journey. And just what you said, from having to be your most authentic self and knowing that you're a light. And, when we sing this in church all the time as children, hide it under a bushel, no, I'm going to let it shine. And then we hear that you're supposed to hide it under a bushel. Don't let it shine too much. And you're like,
right.
But Jesus said to let it shine. It literally says it right here in the Bible.
Yeah.
Please let it shine.
So yeah, let it shine, but dim it down.
But dim it.
Not don't put it up full because you might blind people.
Right. Just a little bit. Just a little, just a pinch of light, and you're like, I feel like I'm being hindered from being everything that is inside of me. So then it makes me feel like what's inside of me is wrong. So then you're like, okay, so then what do I do? What do I do with all that's in me? I don't think all that's in me is horrible. I'm sure there's, edification and, molding, but the core me is just fun and hilarious and outgoing and boisterous, and all those terms were no. As a female, you're supposed to contain it, put it, keep it in the box, and you're like, I can't keep it in the box. I'm really trying, and something's wanting to come out. And so, just you talking about how you're just stepping into receiving everything that you are and being 100% okay with that. I am in, that is my first paso right now. That is right now it's just this is me. I understand that that's not what, society or, the generations above me think is okay. And that's okay with me. I just have to be okay with that because I'm going somewhere different. God is telling me to go in this direction, so I'm running full speed ahead because what I did before was self-destructive. That was not working. I felt like I was hiding it under a bushel. Now I want to let it shine. So the only way I feel like I can do what I'm called to do is if I am doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't hide it. You can't pretend like that's not who you are. I don't want to be ashamed of that, and I don't want to take that into the future generations. I think there's people are evolving. There's more information coming out on how to be better versions of ourselves, and I think we're reaching a time in society where people are really like, no, we can't. Thank you to all the people who have raised us. Thank you to all the people who have laid down platforms for us to build off of. But we need to level up from where they left off. We have to level up so that way we're not, a generation, 2 generations behind in moving forward in this business of shining our lights to everyone in the world, So we want our children and our children's children to feel like they can, from as early as possible, step into who they've been since they were born, like what's always made them tick. That's there on purpose because someone needs to see that to step further into their purpose. It's what I call God's pay it forward plan. Like if I do anything to hinder what God's put in me, it's going to affect someone else who needs to see that in me to be a better version of themselves. So I keep thinking of if I really truly think I'm supposed to be a light, I can't do anything to prevent people from seeing that light in order for their light to shine for someone else who needs to see their light shine, and et cetera,
Yeah. I do want to speak to the light analogy a little more though. I kind of think of it as, and this is a conversation I had with a friend the other day, actually. We were talking about social media and we were talking about numbers and, she was posting something and I was posting something and we were just, complaining, being like, the algorithm's out, 4 people watched my live, it was really good, but why am I even doing this? And we realized it really has to be greater than the numbers. And same goes with our light. Like, we have to be comfortable and confident in the presence of our light and trust that whoever is supposed to see the light and be guided by the light will do so. For example, if you are a candle, right, which is a beautiful light, there are going to be people who require your light. There are going to be people who don't require your light. They might require a flashlight, or they might require a light bulb or a lamp, or whatever that looks like. And I think the biggest thing for me in this season has been recognizing that just because people do not receive me, just because people do not, quote unquote, appreciate who I am or appreciate my light, does not make my light any less effective. It does not make their needs any less valid. We just do not require, or we do not require the same thing, and we do not value the same things, and we do not need the same things. So I'm going to be in my lane. I'm going to be shining my light, and whoever needs my version of light to be their fullest expression of themselves, then that's great. If you've got a group of people over the other side who are like, oh no, I don't like that, I'm going to ignore those people in love, not from a place of negativity, but like, I'm not going to let your lack of requirement for my light stop me from shining my light. Like, you just don't have to look in my direction.
Right.
It's fine. So
there's another light for you to look at. Like, trust me, someone else has a light that you need.
Exactly.
And if I'm not that light, I'm cool with that. I'm not mad.
Yeah, absolutely. And really being comfortable with the fact that, like, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be in my full joy. I'm going to recognize that people are going to be attracted to that full joy because they want a piece of that. They want to live a life like that. And there are some people that doesn't interest at all. That's totally cool. If we were all, attracted to the same light, if we were all doing the same things, we would be a boring world. So, like, for me, I've found so much power and peace in not worrying about anybody else. I'm burning this light for myself and for anybody else who needs to see it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't need to see it, that's fine. There'll be something else for you. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm happy for me. And I'm not going to let anybody else's opinions or perceptions impact my life. So that for me was a big realization.
Yeah.
And it's taken a minute. And I know that a lot of us, especially women.
Ooh, I was about to say.
Yeah, as women, we are so
suppressed,
self-conscious of what everybody else is thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Well, we're suppressed. Like, we're told to. First off, thank you for all the men out there who do great things for society and stuff. Men are amazing. Girl, me too. I love men. However, society has set it up to where men don't have to be as ashamed for who they are, and women should almost always find shame in themselves in some way, shape, or form. And that's led to a power struggle between men and women and what that looks like. And I think the more that women are starting to realize that they have as much purpose as any man out there, society is starting to catch on a bit. I think there's still struggle to allow that to happen, but I think it's a sense of losing identity. Like, you know, men might be thinking they're losing their identity as women try to not level above, but just level up and equalize, you know, across the board, that we all have purpose and we all affect each other. We can all affect each other in a positive way. So why not, you know, be allies and partners in this leveling up together versus I'm up here, you're down here. I'm always up here, you're always down here. I'm going to stay up here. Please don't ever try to get to where I am. Struggle. But like, as women, like you were saying, as women, we constantly have this perception that we are lesser than, or we are weaker, or we're not supposed to, or et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like there's, again, like I don't know who is listening to this spiritually wise, but I mean, there's countless stories in scripture of Jesus constantly empowering women. You know what I mean? Like, he's constantly like, everyone says you're supposed to be this, but this is what I tell you, and you need to go tell these people what I told you who you are. Let them know, you know? And then the men are like, what is happening? I don't understand. That's not what's supposed to happen. And these women are like, really? Like, I can just go and be myself? And he's like, please be yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And it's still a fight. It's still a struggle. It's a struggle as a collective, and it's a struggle individually. But I think we're moving in the right direction of figuring that out, and how to, as women specifically, not be ashamed of what's been placed in us to be our most authentic, beautiful, outstanding, brilliant, talented, charismatic, powerhouse women in the world. I think it's time that happens. I feel like women have been fighting this for way too long, and we're exhausted from it, and we're kind of in a, you know what, this is me. If you don't receive it, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is just this is what it is.
I'm fortunate in that I actually grew up without a father. Like, I was raised by a single mother, so I've only ever known, like, you could do it. And it wasn't necessarily a conversation. Like, my mum is an incredible powerhouse of a woman. She didn't necessarily sit me down and give me pep talks. I learned by observation, mostly because my mum was way too busy, like, having 2 jobs, sending us to private school, to, like, sit down and have the conversation. But I just saw her move through the world, take no rubbish from men or from people in general. So I learned that. So I'm out here playing, being like, anything, like, not like anything men can do, I can do better, or I can also do. It didn't even come into the equation. So I'm just, like, over here doing the things, like, and I think that's a gift, because there are women who have, you know, felt more felt that they have to shrink for men. And I'm over here not knowing what that feels like. And they're like, oh, well, she's not shrinking and she's still alive. Okay,
she's breathing.
Maybe it is safe. So I don't have that fear or that limitation. My limitations came from like me as a woman, in terms of like not being ashamed of my boisterousness or my physicality or my vivacious faith journey, because like I grew up going to a conservative church, and then I grew up going to a less conservative church, and then I left church, and then I've come back into like my own version of faith, which fits perfectly for me, and I'm the best version of myself I've ever been because I took control of that. But like, again, that doesn't fit into the confines of like structural religion or what I was brought up doing. So I had to literally, and this is the same in every part of my life, I had to fully own and embrace what I love. I had to fully own and embrace what I love and what I believe. Kind of keep everybody at arm's length who didn't understand that until I was strong enough to then go back into the communities I once was in and be faced with like funny looks and why does she believe that, or why is she acting like that? I guess I liken it to like a seedling. So this new version of myself, or this like better version of myself, or this more evolved version of myself, is kind of like a seedling. So you can't plant a seedling in a garden bed. I mean, you can, but it's going to be exposed to the elements. If you go to a nursery, they have like special areas for little tiny baby plants. And so I had to like section myself away from people who may have bruised or impacted my new growth. And then when I was strong enough to be back in I guess mainstream community with my friends, with my old church friends, with my family, as this different, more expansive version of myself, I was strong enough and prepared to answer questions, to not be affected negatively by people's opinions and think, oh, maybe I did make the wrong choice in my career, or maybe I did make the wrong choice in, how I'm navigating this part of my life. So yeah, I don't know where that came from, but I feel like maybe somebody needs to hear that, and that if you are evolving, if you are taking your first or second or 14th bus, or like, the thing is, you have unlimited opportunities to try again. So if you are navigating a new space and you're experimenting with who you want to be in the world, experimenting with how you want to exist in terms of your job, in terms of your career or your purpose or your faith or any part of your identity, just know that you need a support system, but it's okay to section yourself off while you strengthen who you are. Obviously stay connected to source, whatever that looks like for you. And then once you have the roots deep enough, then you can, go back to who you once knew and occupy those spaces. Because it's a shame having to like shrink yourself back into a box that you no longer fit in.
Yeah. I think I've been thinking of like butterflies and how, a butterfly starts off as a caterpillar, and you could easily be like, I mean, yeah, that's caterpillars just do what they do. They walk around, they eat leaves, like, cool. Mm-hmm. And each caterpillar, in order to be authentically who they've always been created to be, they have to be in a cocoon alone. Mm-hmm. Like in darkness, even, like completely wrapped up, just them. And it gives them time to change, evolve, grow into who they're supposed to be, until the cocoon is not enough space anymore and they just have to break free. And sorry, I'm colorful, I'm out and about, and you're just gonna have to receive all of who I am. Yeah. This is not, I can't go back to being a caterpillar. I'm not going back to my cocoon. This is it.
Yes.
The color, the reds, the blues, the purples, the greens, the yellows. This is me. And I think that we're in that stage of society now. Like, I feel like there's been a society before us where it was like, this is the caterpillar. You are to stay the caterpillar. You are to observe the caterpillar, be the caterpillar at all times. And something happened in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, and like I guess there was a cocoon situation, and then all the 90s babies came out and we're like, bam, like here we are, like ta-da. And it's so different from the caterpillar stage or the cocoon stage that not everyone is understanding it yet. It's still like, what are the millennials and Gen Zers doing? Like, we're like nervous. But that's what we were always called to be. Everyone, even the generations before us, were called to be butterflies. They were just told to stay caterpillars, you know? And we're like, we don't want to be caterpillars anymore because we feel like we're not getting to spread our wings and fly, like literally soar heights to no end. We're not staying on the branch. I'm not eating this stupid leaf anymore. Like, we are going higher and higher. We're getting to soar. We get to explore. We get to shine our best self for the whole world to see. And not everyone is going to like what they see, but I can't hide. Like, it's actually impossible for me to hide this anymore. Like, it's whether I want to or not, here I am. Like, so it's
and
nice.
I think it's also important. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just saying
I was going to say, I think it's also important to honor the versions of ourselves who existed before. Yeah. So, for example, if I'm over here like a butterfly and my wings are beautiful and I'm soaring, I can't ignore or dishonor the cocoon stage or the caterpillar stage, because the caterpillar stage, they were eating leaves and getting all their nutrients in order to grow the wings. So even though it was not who we are today, there's still a lot of honor that I think exists in the former versions of ourselves. And that's something that I've also done in healing. I would poke fun at younger Shauna. Like when I was 20, bless 20-year-old Shauna. I nicknamed 20-year-old Shauna Barbara. Sorry to any Barbaras who are listening, but like there's a photo of me where I'm wearing like a pearl necklace, I'm wearing a bolero, a floral dress, and essentially the outfit, if you cut out the outfit and like put it on another person, the only other person that you could put that outfit on would be like a woman in her mid-50s. So I kind of, as a 20-year-old, and it's not about fashion, it's not about looks at all, and that's not what I'm focusing on, but what I'm focusing on is I was so out of touch with who I am supposed to be at 20, and I would poke fun at her, like, oh, Barbara, she has 14 cats, she had no idea, she was just at home, like, and I would make fun of her. And then my friend was like, no, you, like, if she didn't exist, you wouldn't exist. So like we need to honor her, celebrate her, love her, but also recognize that she doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And because there's so much power in accepting the different versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Which, side note, even saying that there are different versions of ourselves can be uncomfortable for some people, especially people who don't move away from their family or don't move away from the safety of what is familiar. You can still grow wings and be a butterfly and not leave your hometown or your city. Like, I'm not in any way suggesting that you have to pack your things, give all your belongings away, move into a suitcase and move to LA, which is what I did, which is crazy. But what I am suggesting is that there are different versions of you that exist. You can't, like, we are not called to be the same versions of ourselves. Mm-hmm. If we don't evolve, if we don't grow, we don't exist. We die. Like, we'd all just be boring.
Yeah.
So
just as much as our biology transforms, our spirit and our mind, our emotions have to transform with our biology. Like, it just has to come about, because if we allow our biology to transform and our mind, our heart, our soul is stuck back where we were, there's a disconnect in everything that's going on. Like, who you are naturally wants to evolve into your purpose. Not that your purpose wasn't there from the start. It's just it wants to evolve into a space where the purpose now is structured in such a way that you can showcase it and utilize it for whatever you were called to do, whatever you were set out to do in life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, your purpose is like the seed of an oak tree.
Yeah.
You like the majestic branches and leaves and trunk of an oak tree exists inside of a tiny seed, and there are just different stages and different levels of growth. So like obviously you're not going to get a bunch of kids to climb a shrub of an oak tree, like it would die. Right, yes. But like you can definitely climb an oak tree that's fully grown. So that oak tree, the branches and is it DNA, plant DNA? I don't know what you call it, but like the plant version of DNA. I don't know. That always existed inside of the seed. It just wasn't ready to come out. And it didn't have everything it needed. It like obviously it needs time, it needs sun, it needs water, it needs darkness, a period of darkness. And just going back into the cocoon analogy, I think that's a great segue. We are globally being forced into a cocoon. Now, I am grateful that I have done my cocooning. Like, I'm not saying, like, there will not be a period of cocooning again, but for me, I have had to go and dig deep within myself in the past 4 years, and I've come out on the other side, like, ready to go. So I'm not necessarily affected by the social distancing, isolation. I am used to riding solo a little bit. But I think globally we have been forced to slow down, press pause, take a breath. And I use this analogy on Instagram the other day. I don't know if you ever got hysterical as a child, like crying, but like, you know, those like real intense cries as a baby where you're like,
yes,
like, and you can't breathe. My mum would always, just like so intense. Like, what are you even crying about? Oh, you dropped your spoon. Oh, okay. Like, listen, it got to that.
Yeah.
But I remember my mum would like, because often it would just be that I was in trouble and I thought that it was unjust, and so I would cry. But after my mum gave me space, she would then come back to me, like hold my shoulders or hold my face and like get me to focus on my breathing, so then I could regulate my breathing again through my tears, through my snot, through all of that. And she wouldn't let me go back into playing or being wherever I was until I had not only regulated my breathing but had shown that I was back to normal. Like she wouldn't just be like, okay, you can breathe again, go run off. Like she would make sure that I was fully calm so I wouldn't get triggered and I wouldn't like spin out again. And I think that's what's happening in our planet, like with humanity. We've been like, we're all snotty-nosed children we've just spiraled out of control as a human race. Like we just are always on the go. Everything is so fast paced. We want everything in less than a microwave minute. You want something off Amazon. I'm going to order it today. I'll get it yesterday. Like everything is so instant and so like so quick. And it was dangerously quick, especially for people who aren't spiritual or people who don't take time to meditate and pray or whatever. I can't even imagine what life was like. But now we've been like forced to halt.
Yeah.
And like some of us, I think as a society, are like crying hysterically still, and we are just being like looked in the eye by the planet, and we're being forced to like regulate our breathing, and we are not going to be allowed to go and play until we have learned to breathe in a new way.
Wow.
Because I think all of our social distancing and stuff, all of our rules have been lifted now in Australia. Not all of them, but they're starting to be lifted.
Right.
Because we've had no new cases. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a politician, so I can't tell you the exact things. But I will say that a lot of the restrictions are being lifted, and I'm still cautious because I'm like, no, we have not had enough time to breathe in a new way. People are eager to get back to the way things were, but we can't exist like that. It's not sustainable.
Nope.
So I think in terms of us as caterpillars turning into butterflies, this is the perfect cocoon time. And I don't want to ignore the fact that people are likely out of work. There are people who are dealing with mental health issues, being locked at home, being away from their family and friends, being away from routines. I'm not ignoring the fact that this is such a difficult time. But I went through this time last year. I lived alone in a new city, had no friends, had no money. Was like stuck in my apartment like for 5 months and was just like depressed. So I get what it's like.
Yeah.
I'm not there anymore. So I can now stand here and be like, okay, guys, let's regulate our breathing. Let us use this cocoon time however we are supposed to use it. So if you are called to sleep for 3 months because you are burnt out, then sleep for 3 months.
Yeah.
If you are called to pick up a hobby, which then turns into a passion, like for example, I picked up watercolor painting, loved it. So I picked up watercolor painting, loved it. And as it turns out, I'm going to like start painting cards and like sell them for charity because I love it so much. Like never would have thought to do that before at all. So I just want to say to everybody who's listening, this cocoon period is a gift. There is so much mess in the world and obviously there's so much uncertainty and I don't want to ignore that, but I want us to try and see it as like, oh, this is a time where I can truly go within, use the silence, use the isolation as a time to explore who you are without the noise.
Yeah. I've literally been having the same conversations with a lot of people that we've literally just been forced to press pause, sit in the silence, and be comfortable in it, you know?
And that's hard.
We don't like that. We need things moving and grooving and popping, and the noise has to stay because there's discomfort in silence, but there's peace in silence. And so if we keep running on noise and lack of peace, something's gonna have to give at some point.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've, like you said, been forced into this moment of silence and peace and calm so we can refocus ourselves to step forward into a different direction. Because if we try to go back to where we were, do we want to? I don't want to do round 2 of this. No, we need to like really. We're I don't know how else to say this. We're so focused on our Egypt that we're missing the fact that we're being prepared for the promised land. And that's just like, we don't worry about Egypt. There's a lot, we learned a lot of things in Egypt. We got, we had jobs in Egypt. We had tools. We had opportunities in Egypt. Now we need to we've crossed the sea. We're here. It's a little bit quieter than it was in Egypt. A little uncomfortable with it. But sit in the discomfort until that peace becomes your new normal. So you walk into the promised land with confidence. It's a lot to take in, and at the same time it is a blessing because there's every single one of us. I don't care who you are on this planet. There's something that's either been in the back of our minds or in the forefront of our minds, but there's something in us that has said there's something that I need. And I don't have the time. I don't feel like I have the energy to really do that or focus on it or address it. And at this time, it's like, wow, I can think about mending the relationship I have with myself, which will help me mend the relationship I have with my children or with my spouse or with a parent, or it's going to help me listen to what makes me tick so I actually know what I need as a person. Like I'll be able to better assess what hinders me and what doesn't versus being in this blur of a world that I actually can't even separate the good, the bad, and the ugly in my life because I don't even have time to sift through it. Now we have so much time to sift through it. And that's not to say that everyone in this time is able to do that, like we said, you know, people are, their anxiety is higher, or they're still battling addictions, like their addictions don't care about COVID, or, you know, whatever. Like there's so many other things that people are having to worry about, and we're not discounting that. Like, please do what you can to just take care of yourself. But for those of us who aren't having to do, you know, battle so many things mentally or emotionally during this time, we should really take advantage of this awesome cocoon season, because who knows when it's literally like the whole world was given a cocoon season. When is that going to happen again?
Yeah.
When is it that the whole planet is just like put on pause?
Yeah.
Well, we all have to think about it, and we all have to think about it in relation to each other and existing relationships, existing mindsets. I mean, I can't picture us having another time to reset. And so for me, it's been so important for me to sit down and just almost tweezer myself apart to be like, Candace, you've got to be your best self. And you don't know if you're gonna get a time like this, especially if you're like moving on in your career and then you might get married and have kids and stuff. Like, you actually have a time to make sure that you are your best, healthiest self, so that way when it is time to move forward, you're unstoppable. And you're not just unstoppable for you, but you're unstoppable for the people who need to see you being unstoppable. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think particularly at this time, it's important to, and not in a selfish way, but it's important to recognize, what do I want? Like, what do I want? I'd spent so much of my life being a version of me that I thought everybody else wanted. And that's just a waste of energy. That's burning fuel that is unnecessary. In fact, if you're operating in your fullest expression of yourself, you're engaging in all the things that bring you joy, that is going to overflow into everybody else, and they're going to want a piece of that. They're going to want to be closer to you. They're going to want to up their game and be the best versions of themselves as well. And that's the goal, is to live from a place of overflow and then like pour into other people. Yes. So I just want to encourage people to ask themselves, what do I want? If all you wanted to do, like, look at yourself when you were 8 years old. What were you interested in? What brought you joy? What made you giggle? What did you read about? Or what did you watch? What did you listen to? And often that version of ourselves is us as adults. And for me, I've just been undoing all of what I thought adulting looked like and going back to that version of myself and asking myself, what is it you want? And how can I do that? Because there's a Henry Ford quote that says, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And essentially it emphasizes how much attitude determines success or failure.
Yeah. Mine.
So yeah, you just got to go for it. Ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need in order to take this first step? And just take it. Just take the step. The thing is, you will land on your feet. It's impossible for us to die from taking a step. I mean, obviously there are certain steps.
All right.
Obviously, like there's a fine line. But when it comes to walking in your purpose, if you are taking a step to be the best version of yourself, if you're taking a step to get to your dream job or start up a business, yes, you will fall. So you work hard, you fail, you stand back up again, you try again, you do a little better, you fail again, you fall on your face, you wipe the tears, you wipe the snot, you dust off the dirt from your knees and you palms your hands, and then you do it again and again and again and again. That's kind of life. And I know I'm not really selling the idea of taking risky steps, but like the cool thing is, if it's for you, it will not pass you. If it's what you were supposed to be doing, you will always have the stamina to get up again, because it's what you're supposed to be doing. It may not look the way that you think, but that comes back to our point of like, be obsessed with the destination. Don't be obsessed with how you get there.
Yeah.
and giving yourself grace
Yeah.
and recognizing like chasing your calling doesn't always have to be loud, like a loud grand announcement. It can be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It can be you just taking time for yourself, learning about yourself, learning about what you love, playing in that, and then re-emerging as a butterfly and saying, actually, this is how I want to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And if after a couple of years you want to do it again, then do it again.
Do it again.
Like,
Yes.
I can't tell you how many first steps I've taken in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's worth it. At the end of the day, I know I've talked about how we know that not every first step we take is going to lead us to a successful one, but the success is found in learning from that negative or, bad step.
Absolutely.
If you all of those lessons that you learn from the negative steps or the steps that just didn't work in your favor, were a hindrance to you, as long as you got the lesson from that, you're succeeding. It just doesn't
100%.
look like it. Like, it doesn't maybe look like it. It doesn't feel like it. And sometimes because we've made these first pasos that lead us into a direction we did not think we were supposed to go down, then we get scared to take other steps in the future. But that's not the purpose of negative steps. Negative steps is for us to obtain the information, process it, learn from it, and use that to help us step in a direction that may be better for where we're going, and to warn people as well. It's not just for you. Don't hold that stuff all to yourself. Let someone coming up behind you know, hey, by the way, you might want to go this way instead of that way. It's just like when you go hiking with someone and there's someone in the front and they've already gone through all the craziness up front. They should, if they're good leaders of the group, they're going to be like, hey, why don't you go up this way, because down that way you might slide and it might be a struggle trying to come back up. But if you go this way, it should be easier. That's what we're supposed to do with our steps. We're not supposed to be like, oh gosh, like this step was horrible and whatever. Yeah, feel that, experience it, but collect yourself and use it as fuel to better strategize for the rest of your journey. That's all. And then tell people behind you, don't do that, because that's one less negative step you have to worry about. Yeah. Yeah, girl.
Yeah, and also don't be afraid to use your experiences to pour into people. For example, like, my first paso was not successful. It was successful because it's where I am today, but my job, didn't have any prospects, got a brain tumor, had $20,000 stolen from me, like, all these things. That does not sound like success. But through that, I've learned about trust. I've learned about finances. I've learned about the importance of taking care of your body. Like, all of those things, had I not gone through those experiences in 2017, I would not be who I am today. And for the longest time, I didn't want to share that part of my journey because it was dirty, or because it was messy, or because it wasn't polished, and it wasn't the, like, happily ever after, like the perfect, story to success. Because like, I've reached success in one sense, because I have, like, true peace and joy and a sense of who I am. But then in terms of material success, like, I would love to not be living in a shoebox of a room. Like, I love a bigger apartment. Like, there's also the money success of things like come through.
Yes,
Jesus.
yes. Holy Ghost.
But like, right. But it took me a really long time to share that part of my journey, because I didn't want to tarnish the other person's reputation. But like, I don't have to say that person's name. I don't have any animosity towards that person, like, at all anymore, because I've, like, forgiven and moved on, and I truly wish them the best. But I also didn't want to share that part of my journey, because I was like, oh, I don't want it to seem like I'm bad-mouthing them or gossiping. Like, first of all, it's your story. Second of all, that can help somebody else. Like, step into the messiness of your story and share it where appropriate. Obviously, don't, like, get on a platform and put somebody on blast.
Right.
But you can help somebody else. Like, turns out one of my good friends went through a very similar situation to me a year after me. And it was only through my experience that I could like put all my cards on the table to say, this is what happened. Like, this is, you're probably not going to want to hear this, but this happened, this happened, this happened. And it's not pretty, but it was a necessary exchange of knowledge and information. So also, like, if you have a messy part of your story that you're like, it definitely made me who I am today, but I don't really want to share it because I'm embarrassed or I don't want to make anybody else look bad. Make peace with it, put it aside, and recognize that that can be life-changing information that you can share to another person. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, girl, this conversation is so good. And I think it's just so necessary for us to be talking about the fact that we're going to make first fossils and they're going to be messy. And that's part of the process. And we weren't told to go on perfect journeys. We were told to go on the journey, period, and trust that the process is what you need to become who you're supposed to be. That's it. Just go on the journey, learn from it, grow from it, embrace it, and know that because of all of those first fossils, whether they're positive or negative, you're becoming your best self because of all of those experiences collectively. And it's freeing. It's refreshing to be able to look back and see, like, man, so much happened, but I'm, before I hated that those things were happening. Now I'm like, man, but because of it, I have a contrast of like ugly and beautiful, and I wouldn't trade that knowledge and ability to see the contrast for the world.
My past 4 years have been dynamic.
Yeah.
That's the word I will use.
Yeah.
And like, there has been such contrast. There have been some really low lows and some phenomenal highs, and I would not trade anything, even down to the heartbreak, betrayal, sickness, every single part of my journey, I would not trade.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do anything differently.
Yeah.
Because every step that I took, every decision I made, if it wasn't a blessing, it was a lesson.
Yes.
So, and that I'm grateful for.
Yep. Girl, same here. Man. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Thank you.
That's just
I know
amazing.
We went so many directions. I feel like one of those, those at tourist places, how they have like the pole with like the Los Angeles is 4,000 miles and Sydney is 20,000 miles. There's like signposts that have like this. I feel like that is what we did. We stood at the signpost and we ran that way and then that way and then that way. But hey,
all of those little mini marathons were necessary for people to kind of like get the full picture, get to see from 20,000 feet and 5,000 feet and 2 feet and back up to 50,000 feet. Like, see all the angles of your ability to grow into your best self. Like, that's literally all this platform is for. And so the way you shared your story was absolutely phenomenal, and I just thank you for doing that. Do you have a way for people to find you on social media if they want to like reach out to you, ask you more questions about your journey, needing advice? How could people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the easiest way is Instagram. So it's at Shauna _. And then from there, my email address is there. My email address is hello@strongwomanofficial.com. But, if you just go to my Instagram page, you'll see that. Also, strongwomanofficial.com is my website. Again, I put Strong Woman down for a minute just to focus on my growth and my own experience. But I still check the emails and whatnot. So, yeah, feel free to flick me an email or flick me a DM. Or I love voice notes. They're lots of fun, especially from my international friends, because I talk very fast and I'm not understood a lot of the time. So, yeah, just don't be a stranger. Feel free to reach out because I think whatever I've gone through, I want to be able to gift my experiences to other people. If I can help provide some kind of clarity, then that is, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
So, at Shauna _. And then I just wanted to say to you, Candice, I wanted to affirm you in taking this step in doing a podcast. I was thrilled when you reached out to me, partly because this is an excuse for us to catch up because we're terrible at this.
That's all that my podcast is. This is it. The secret's out. I literally just made a podcast so my friends would actually talk to me. That's all.
But you've learned a new skill. You've stepped into, I think, one of the facets of your purpose. You are a wildly hysterical individual, and I think as you grow in confidence and as you grow in playing in the skill areas, like Kevin's not wrong, have your own show. I'll be on your show, obviously. But yeah, just it's a testament to your growth and your faith, and I just wanted to affirm you and celebrate and honor you for taking your parcel.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm learning better to receive words like that without feeling bad about it.
People can't see you, but you pretty much crawled out of your skin. We'll work on that. I'll send you aggressive love notes a little more often, and then hopefully you'll be used to it.
Thank you. I really appreciate the support that I've gotten from a lot of people who are just like, Candace, oh my gosh, the podcast makes complete sense based on who you are. And I'm learning to realize that it does make sense instead of being afraid. And so, First Paso is a First Paso for me, and figuring out where God's taking me with this, I'm down for the ride at this point. Like, nothing can stop me now. So if a TV show's down the road, I open my hands to you, Lord. Like, I receive it.
Yeah.
Whatever comes of this is, as long as it's helping other people, it could be 2 episodes long. As long as someone was like, man, I needed that, my work was done, So thank you so much for those words. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Totally.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, girl, thank you. And thank you to
cutting it.
Girl,
for 2 hours.
I try. I'm learning. I feel like we're going to hear a transformation in my editing skills as I learn the podcasting world. So I'm excited to down the road be like, let's listen to my first episode. Rough, but we made it. Here we are. Still moving. So it's okay. It's fine. And thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If there are any topics that you want to hear in the future, or any situations that you're going through that you would like for me or for me to find someone to address, please hit me up on Twitter or on Facebook. Actually, I have a Facebook page, and they're both at First Paso. If you have resonated with Shauna's First Paso experience, or you've been in that situation, you're currently in that situation, you feel like you're about to get into this situation, share your experiences with me as well, and I will read some of what you guys have to say in a future episode, because like I always say, this podcast is not about me, it's not about the guests that I bring on, and it's not really just about you, but it's about all of us using the tools that we've learned and have collected over the years to help not just ourselves, but each other become the best versions of ourselves. So I definitely want to hear from you guys. Please don't be shy to reach out to me at any time. And until next time, you guys stay safe out there. Please continue washing your hands and wearing masks and social distancing. Be cautious, but continue to love the people around you and the situations that you're in. Shauna, thank you again. And girl, we will talk soon. Okay, we're not going to use a podcast to always have to have a conversation. So we going to fix that. But you have a great rest of your day. I'm about to go to bed. So.
Oh, it's late.
Girl, that's how my life works. So you take care, and I love you so much. Thank you again. And we'll talk soon. All right, bye.
Bye.